In response to all of the talk out there about ply count, wood type, bearing edges, finishes, and the rest of it, today we're taking this absolute beater of a kit and making it sound fantastic. Long story short, and if you want the full story, head over to the Patreon and Ben will tell you all about it. Ben bought this kit while he was working at a music store 20 some odd years ago for $50. Wood type, unknown, bearing edges, suspect, hardware, heavily pitted, lug count on the toms, literally odd. There's 5 on each. What we do know is that it's a very low-level Pearl kit from at least 25 years ago. The only indication that it's a Pearl kit is the remaining mounting hardware on the bass drum. The sizes are delightfully pretty traditional jazz sizes, a 12x8, a 14x12 inch depth floor tom, and a 14x18 bass drum. I honestly have had a soft spot for this kit for a while because I kind of love ugly things that can sound amazing, and that's really what we're here to do today. So what we've done is swapped out all of the heads and spent some time tuning it. That's it. We didn't do anything else. The heads on here aren't even all fresh heads. We used heads we had lying around. Some of them are new, some of them are not. And well, without further ado, let's hear how it sounds. I don't know about you, but I am thrilled with the sound of these, and we intentionally went a little bit left of center with the sounds today. It's jazz-sized kits, so we used Calftones and pitched it up a little bit. We actually have a Calftone EMAD on the batter of the bass drum. No muffling in there. They are so fun. They have tons of tone. They're much larger sounding than they actually are, and the first things that I'm thinking is that I'm not getting hung up on the lug count. 5 on the toms and 6 on the bass drum. Not important. I'm not getting hung up on what they look like because they sound fantastic. And I'm not really getting hung up on the fact that I don't know what they're made of or the angle of the bearing edges or the rest of it. There are a tremendous amount of things that go into the sonic behavior of a drum, and there's a whole other set that don't really affect the sound of it at all that can cause the price to go up, cause the desirability and the glitz and the glamour of the whole thing to go up, which is exactly why we're taking not just a pretty funky looking kit today, but also one that is literally budget and spending a little time with just the heads and the tuning, and bringing it into a sound where if you didn't see it, you wouldn't be able to tell if it costs $50, $500, or $2,000, because only once you see it with your eyes, you get a sense of what the thing actually is. Public service announcement, the Acrolite here is the Acrolite that's always here. It didn't come with the kit, but this kit didn't come with a snare drum, so we had to use something, and this is what it is. I feel like it's important also to note that I personally have an affinity for these size drums. I use 12, 14, 18 for an awful lot of stuff. And for anybody out there that feels like small drums can't make a big sound, I made choices here to get jazzier toms and a bit beefier of a bass drum. Little drums like this can make a lot of different sounds. So just because you see a thing, whether it's about the ugliness of it or if it's about the sizes, remember that all of these have a lot more versatility than you might realize just based on preconceived notions. All too often, drummers will look at the specs, the appearance, or the price of a drum set and make sweeping assumptions about the sound of that instrument while never spending any time with it, or maybe never even hearing it in real life at all. The truth of the matter is that the only way to understand the capabilities of an instrument is to have it in front of you. And, I mean, regardless of the finish or the price tag or anything else, how you move with the drum and the choices that you make to get the sound out of it and what you learn along the way with each instrument is the way to get a great sound out of the drum, no matter the price tag. Speaking of price tags, it's worth noting that this set of 3 drums is currently wearing about $200 worth of heads. On the one hand, you might say, wow, heads are kind of pricey. But on the other hand, it's a $50 drum set and it sounds fantastic. So one more in the bucket of think about your head choices and remember that the heads are contributing an awful lot, maybe more, to the sound of the drums than the drums are themselves. There's a certain degree of vanity that goes into purchasing instruments, and sometimes it can work in reverse. Some people only like really junky looking instruments, and that's a form of this same sort of thing. We like what we like. Whatever you like is totally okay. This is not about saying that your preferences are bad and these preferences are good or anything like that. This is just to get away from the idea that you can make assumptions about an instrument that you've never personally played. The type of bearing edges doesn't necessarily mean a certain behavior. The size of the drum doesn't necessarily mean a certain behavior, and the finish doesn't mean anything at all. I'm sure there are some of you out there right now who had a real shift in your value judgment of this drum set and the sounds that it makes once I told you how much it cost when Ben got it all those years ago. This is exactly what we're talking about. The psychoacoustic experience of, oh, that thing's gonna sound like $50. Because it costs $50. At the end of the day, they're just instruments, and the price tag is completely irrelevant. If some crazy person sold you a brand new super glitzy kit for $50, that kit wouldn't sound like $50. I mean, the only way to know is to know. What this really comes down to, and I'm speaking specifically to the person watching this who feels like they don't have the right gear for the gig they want to have, or the cymbals are wrong for the style that they're practicing, whatever it is. This is an opportunity to kick the industry's opinion and the internet's opinion of what's right and wrong out the window and just get into what you have. Because thinking that you need a certain thing to be authentic or qualified or any of that is, I won't say it's never the case, but it is rarely the case that you need to have a certain thing. It's exceedingly rare. And the fears that we have around the idea of an engineer being upset with your tom sound, or some rock band feeling like your kit's not big enough, or that it's the wrong color, or whatever, you may as well be talking about your haircut. Like, ultimately, we're just trying to play drums. And confidence and a good sound goes a whole lot further than having whatever the latest, greatest, and most bananas expensive piece of gear might be. What we really hope you take from this is that whatever drums you have at home, whether they were $50 or orders of magnitude more money than that, is that you'll take some time to look at what they're capable of, spend some time tuning them, spend some time understanding that the heads are a massive contributor to the sound, and that the more your ear gets trained and you learn about getting a good sound out of the drum, the less you're going to be concerned about replacing your kit with something that's probably going to sound the same.